With us now is Pastor Eric Costanzo, lead pastor of South Tulsa Baptist. Pastor Costanzo, thank you so much for being with us. The Oklahoman published a survey, the results of a survey that found 83% of mostly Oklahomans never learned about the Tulsa race massacre in school. I know you grew up in Tulsa. Pastor Costanzo, why is this little known in American history?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely accurate. And that was my own personal experience. I didn't learn about it, even though I grew up here my whole life until I was in seminary. I didn't even learn about it in college here in state, and the seminary was out of state. And I think it's a combination of a few things. I think that for many years, people didn't want to remember, whether because there was guilt or there was some sense of, will we be held accountable? I think that even our African-American community has said that for many years, many of them didn't want to talk about it. They didn't want to relive it. They didn't want their children to grow up having that kind of animosity back towards the white community. And so I think that it just sort of got swept under the rug. And for many reasons, nobody really talked about it much except just in maybe a passing comment.
And now, what's led you to get involved with the centennial planning, and how has the community rallied around this event?
You know, over 2 years ago, I was actually invited by the Centennial Commission to be a part of the planning, and really, the commission they did a great job of involving lots of community organizations, but also several churches. And so I got to represent my church and meet lots of other great pastors and other church leaders representing their churches. And for the vast majority of the time, everything has been focused on looking to the future. And, you know, once the commemoration is over, which the commemoration is very important, but once the commemoration is over, that we would have better relationships across the city and especially among our churches, so that we can model unity in our community in a Christ-like manner, which the church ought to be able to lead the way in doing that.
As Eric mentioned in his package, Pastor Costanzo, white citizens were deputized to participate in that mob. I was reading also today that Black Tulsans and their mistrust of police actually kind of stems from that. In response, President Biden today called on Americans to recommit to the work of rooting out systemic racism across our country. What do you think he means by that? And what lessons do you hope Americans will learn as we find out more about what happened 100 years ago this past Sunday?
Well, I certainly wouldn't presume to speak for the intentions of the president and his comments. But I think that certainly what has been beneficial for me, especially in the 2+ years of getting to know our African-American pastors and churches more, is what it looks like to sit in a position of dialogue and to listen and to learn, but also to have a safe space to dialogue, which we've had. And we've been able to do that and discuss difficult topics like justice and racism and on all levels, to be able to have that kind of posture where it's not a hostile environment to talk about volatile topics. And so I think, you know, certainly if we can foster more of that communication that involves listening, which seems to be a lost art for so many people, then the church will be playing a positive role in all this.
Yeah, absolutely. Pastor Eric Costanzo, lead pastor at South Tulsa Baptist Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's great to have you.
Thanks for having me.